What if everything you assumed about Florida was strategically designed to keep you distracted? Behind the theme parks and beaches, there's a version of this state that sounds completely made up, except it's documented fact. The weirdest part? One of these truths could save your life there. Florida has no state income tax. Sounds like paradise, right? Well, here's what the brochures conveniently forget to mention. The moment you book that hotel room, you're walking straight into what locals call the tourist development tax. It's an extra 4 to 6% slapped on top of regular sales tax. So that $100 beach hotel actually costs you $113 to $119 at checkout. And rental cars? Don't even get me started. Those sneaky surcharges add 30 to 40% to whatever price you thought you were paying. Orlando's the worst offender. The combined tourist taxes there are some of the highest in America. Why? Because theme parks generate the revenue that residents don't pay through income tax. Here's a tip that saved me $80 last trip. Book directly through hotels. Sometimes they waive resort fees that third-party sites can't avoid. Basically, Florida designed its entire tax system to make visitors subsidize services for residents. Clever, honestly. But taxes aren't even the trickiest part of visiting Florida. Your GPS is basically a tourist torture device in Florida. Here's the thing. Roads change names every few miles without any warning. US 1, A1A, Collins Avenue, and 5th Street, all the same road depending on which block you're standing on. I learned this the hard way in Miami. My GPS confidently told me to continue straight while the street name changed 3 times in 2 miles. But it gets worse. That shortest route your phone calculates, it doesn't know which neighborhoods locals avoid after dark. It doesn't know there are certain intersections where even longtime residents don't stop at red lights past 10 p.m. And here's the kicker. Many Florida roads have 0 shoulders. So when your GPS needs to recalculate, there's literally nowhere safe to pull over. Floridians don't even use addresses. They navigate by landmarks and business names. Now, if you thought navigation was tricky, wait until you try ordering fresh orange juice. Florida orange juice, the stuff the state built its entire identity around. Here's the dirty secret nobody tells you. Most fresh Florida orange juice in tourist areas, it's concentrate. From Brazil, not even from this continent. Real Florida orange season runs November to June. So that fresh squeezed glass you're paying $8 for in July? Suspicious doesn't begin to cover it. The roadside stands are the worst offenders. They charge premium prices for the exact same stuff you'd grab at Publix for $3. Same carton, different markup, and here's what's actually sad. Citrus greening disease has wiped out nearly 90% of Florida's orange production since 2005. 90%. The orange groves from postcards? Mostly gone. Want the real deal? Visit an actual grove with U-Pick options. They'll let you watch the juicing. They won't fleece you. But fake juice is nothing compared to what happens when you hit Florida's roads. All right, here's where Florida really starts draining your wallet without warning. The state has more toll roads than anywhere else in America. And here's the kicker. Most don't take cash anymore. It's SunPass or nothing. Rental car companies know this. They charge up to $10 per day just for transponder access. Use it once, $10. Don't use it at all, still $10. Skip their transponder thinking you're clever. Cameras snap your plate, then bills arrive with processing fees that triple the actual toll amount. A simple Orlando to Miami drive, $30 in tolls. Easy. The real insult? Some toll plazas have 0 warning signs. You're committed before you even realize what's happening. No exit, no escape. But here's the hack. Grab a SunPass Mini at any Publix or CVS for $5. Load it yourself. Done. Speaking of unexpected charges, wait until you see what restaurants are pulling. Here's where restaurants get sneaky. Many Florida tourist spots automatically add 18 to 22% gratuity to every single bill, not just large parties, everyone. The charge? Buried in tiny font at the bottom of your receipt. So you tip on top of it without even realizing. I've done this myself, twice, at the same restaurant. My wife still brings it up. And here's the kicker. Some servers won't mention the auto gratuity at all. They'll hand you that receipt with a blank tip line and just, wait, technically legal if disclosed somewhere, usually buried in menu fine print nobody reads. Double tipping costs tourists an estimated $200 million annually in Florida tourist zones alone. That's not a typo, so always check your itemized bill before signing. Ask directly if gratuity was included. No shame in that question, but sneaky restaurant tricks are nothing compared to what wealthy beachfront communities pull next. Florida law says every beach is public. That's right there in the state constitution. But try finding a way onto the sand in Palm Beach. Good luck. Wealthy oceanfront property owners play a sneaky game. They're legally required to provide public beach access, but nobody said they have to tell you where it is. Signs that should mark public entry points mysteriously disappear, or they're hidden behind bushes, or they're so small you'd need binoculars, and the parking situation? Even better. Public access might exist, but the nearest legal parking spot is a mile away. Meters cost $8 an hour. Residential permit zones stretch for blocks. Here's the beautiful irony, though. Every inch of sand below the high tide line belongs to everyone, even in front of a $50 million mansion. The website Florida Beach Access Maps reveals every entry point locals want to keep secret. But beaches aren't the only thing Florida tries to hide from tourists. Wait until you hear about the water. Florida tap water won't kill you, but it might make you gag. The state pumps water from limestone aquifers loaded with sulfur. That rotten egg smell in your hotel shower? Completely normal. Not a plumbing disaster. Just hydrogen sulfide doing its thing. Here's what gets me, though. That fancy natural spring water selling for $4 a bottle, same aquifer, same source, different marketing. Bottled water in tourist zones costs 3 times the national average. Tourists are literally paying premium prices for water that fell from the sky and filtered through the same rocks as the free stuff from the tap. Want to save $50 to $100 on your trip? Bring a filtered water bottle. Problem solved. And that sulfur smell everyone complains about? Leave a glass of tap water sitting out for 30 minutes. The smell vanishes completely. Now, about getting around Florida without getting fleeced, here's where Florida really picks your pocket. Those rideshare pickup zones at theme parks and airports, they're surge pricing triggers. The moment you request a ride from Orlando Airport, prices jump 2 to 3 times normal. But walk 5 minutes to the regular pickup area, suddenly affordable. And it gets worse. Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, they all coordinate closing times. Every park dumps thousands of people onto the streets between 9 and 10 p.m. Every single night. Uber's algorithm sees massive demand, and boom, your $20 ride becomes $50. The workaround is almost too simple. Walk 10 minutes outside any Disney property line. Seriously, that's it. Your fare drops 40 to 60% just by crossing a street. Miami Beach, after midnight on weekends, fares hit 4 to 5 times normal. My advice, schedule rides 30 minutes ahead. It locks in prices before the chaos. Speaking of getting squeezed, wait until you hear about Florida's fake Cuban food problem. Here's something that might hurt to hear. That Cuban sandwich you ate in Jacksonville? Not Cuban. The one in Orlando? Also not Cuban. That authentic Cuban restaurant in Destin with the little flags on the tables? Absolutely. Positively not Cuban. Real Cuban sandwiches exist in exactly 2 Florida cities, Tampa and Miami. That's it. Everywhere else uses the wrong bread, wrong pork, wrong everything. And Cuban coffee? Most tourist spots just dump sugar into regular espresso and call it Cafe Cubano. That's not how it works. Real Cafe Cubano requires whipping the sugar with the first drops of espresso until it becomes a sweet foam called espuma. Skip that step and you've got sweet espresso, not Cuban coffee. Here's my personal test. If the menu has photos, walk out. If everything's translated to English, keep walking. If you can't hear Spanish being spoken, you're in the wrong place. But fake food isn't your only worry. Those early bird dinner specials everyone jokes about, Florida has a secret weapon against high restaurant prices. And weirdly, it exists because of old people. Early bird specials, 4 to 6 p.m., identical food, 30 to 50% cheaper. I'm not talking about some sad discount menu either. That $50 steak at 8 p.m., it's $25 at 4:30. Same cut, same chef, same everything. Why does this exist? Florida has more retirees than anywhere in America, and they eat dinner when most people are still thinking about lunch. Restaurants figured out they could fill empty tables and serve the exact same quality. Here's the move. Make a 4:30 reservation at that fancy place you couldn't normally afford. You'll eat like royalty while paying peasant prices, and the bonus? No 2-hour wait like the 7 p.m. crowd deals with. But those savings mean nothing if you fall for the next trap. Florida's outlet malls aren't what you think. Florida's famous outlet malls are basically a legal scam. And I say that as someone who once spent 4 hours at Sawgrass Mills thinking I was getting deals. Here's the dirty secret. Most stuff in outlets was never sold anywhere else. Brands manufacture cheaper versions specifically for these stores. Different stitching, thinner fabric, lower quality materials. That Coach bag? Made for outlet. Those Nike shoes? Outlet exclusive. That 70% off retail tag? Complete fiction. The item was never actually sold at that inflated price, ever. It's comparing apples to imaginary apples. Want real bargains? Regular department store clearance racks beat outlet prices almost every time. I tested this myself. Same brand polo shirt. Macy's clearance had it cheaper than Orlando premium outlets. Oh, and those outlets now charge for parking on weekends. So your savings start negative before you even walk inside. But speaking of things that cost more than they should in Florida, here's something tourists waste money on every single trip. Florida pharmacies operate under different rules than most states, and I mean really different. Say you forgot your blood pressure medication back home. In most states, you're looking at an expensive emergency room visit just to get a refill. In Florida, pharmacists can actually dispense emergency supplies of many common prescriptions without you seeing a doctor first. Blood pressure meds, diabetes medications, cholesterol pills, even some travel-related stuff like motion sickness tablets and basic antibiotics. The trick is bringing your original prescription bottle. That's your proof you're not just making things up. CVS Minute Clinics here handle more tourist prescription emergencies than anywhere else in the country. They've basically become the unofficial tourist medical backup system. This saves hundreds of dollars, literally hundreds. But speaking of saving money, there's a loophole with expensive attractions that almost nobody talks about. Here's something that'll make you feel a little silly. Those expensive Florida attractions, many of them let people in for free on specific days. They just don't tell tourists about it. Museums across Florida offer free first Sunday admission. Been doing it for years. But you won't see that advertised anywhere near the ticket booth charging $40. State parks? Free entry on July 4th, Veterans Day, and a handful of other holidays. Kennedy Space Center hands out free admission to active military and veterans. Just show your ID. And here's a trick that sounds too weird to work. Your library card from back home might get you discounted or free admission to Florida attractions. Seriously, many libraries participate in museum pass programs that work across state lines. Before you book anything, just Google the attraction name plus free admission days. Takes 30 seconds, could save you hundreds. But saving on tickets is one thing. Saving on tickets you never even paid full price for? That's next. Here's something most tourists never discover. Florida actually allows the legal resale of partially used multi-day theme park tickets. That family of 4 leaving Orlando after day 2 of their 5-day pass, they're often selling those remaining 3 days on Facebook Marketplace for $50 to $70 total. That's like finding money on the ground. Universal and SeaWorld tickets are fully transferable, completely legitimate. No rules broken. The catch? You've got to meet in person. Works best if you arrive a day before hitting the parks. Now here's where it gets interesting. Disney caught on to this years ago and made their tickets non-transferable specifically to kill this secondary market. Universal hasn't bothered. Yet. I've personally seen 3-day Universal passes going for the price of a decent dinner. But speaking of things that can ruin your vacation faster than an empty wallet, Florida's humidity sits at 74% on average. That's not weather. That's living inside a wet sponge. And it destroys everything you own faster than you'd believe. Your phone screen? More likely to crack here because humidity weakens the adhesive holding it together. Temperature swings between AC and outside stress the glass until it gives up. Camera lenses fog instantly when you step outdoors. You'll wait 15 to 20 minutes before taking any photos, every single time. Here's one tourists never consider. Medications lose effectiveness in high humidity. That blood pressure pill might not work as well after sitting in your beach bag. Keep everything in waterproof containers. Leather goods grow mold within a week. Shoes, belts, bags, just sitting in your hotel room. The fix is simple though. Crank your hotel AC to high fan mode. Pulls moisture out of the air. But humidity isn't the only thing targeting your wallet here. Florida cities have turned parking enforcement into an art form. And tourists? They're the canvas. Miami Beach alone collects over $70 million annually from parking tickets. $70 million. That's not public safety. That's a business model. Here's where it gets ridiculous. One block uses meter zone A. The next block, zone B. Different app, different rules, same confused tourists standing there with their phone wondering why their payment didn't work. I once watched a guy pay for parking 3 different ways because he wasn't sure any of them actually registered. Smart man, honestly. And those free parking signs? Read the tiny text. Free until 6 p.m., except weekends, except holidays, except during special events. By the time you've decoded it, you've already got a ticket. My advice? Photograph everything. Your receipt, the meter, the signs, every single rule posted. Because speaking of things that seem sketchy on the surface, wait until you hear about vacation rental inspections. Here's something that'll make you think twice about that cute beachfront rental. Florida doesn't inspect vacation rentals, period. Hotels have health inspectors showing up randomly, fire marshals checking smoke detectors, cleanliness standards that must be maintained. Your VRBO, nobody's checking anything. That dreamy oceanfront property might have black mold growing behind the bathroom tiles, broken smoke detectors, maybe even gas leaks that nobody's tested for in years. The only quality control is whatever the previous guest wrote in their review. And here's where it gets sketchy. Thousands of vacation rentals operate completely illegally across Florida. No license, no insurance, 0 guest protections. Always ask for the Florida Vacation Rental license number before booking. It's publicly searchable. If something goes wrong in an unlicensed rental, injury, theft, property damage, you've got almost no legal recourse. But speaking of saving money on things that actually matter, there's a medical tourism trick happening inside Florida itself. Medical procedures in Miami cost 30 to 50% less than Orlando or Tampa. Same doctors, same equipment, completely different price tag. Why? Cuban-trained physicians flooded the market decades ago, and competition drove prices down to levels that would make insurance companies cry. Dental work tells the real story. A crown in Orlando near the theme parks, $800. Same crown in Miami, around $450. I'm not making this up. Even urgent care visits show the gap. You'll pay $75 to $100 in Miami. Near Disney, that's $150 to $200 for the same sore throat diagnosis. Here's what gets wild. Some tourists actually schedule procedures around their vacations. Teeth cleaning Tuesday, beach Wednesday, saving thousands on the whole trip. Residents do this too. They literally drive 3 hours south for medical appointments because the gas costs less than the price difference. But if you think healthcare pricing is weird, wait until you hear what happens when you pay with cash. Cash is king in Florida. And I'm not talking about some old school philosophy here. Real discounts exist for people who pay with paper money. We're talking 5 to 10% off at businesses that never advertise this fact. Gas stations charge 10 to 20 cents more per gallon if you swipe plastic. That adds up fast when you're filling up a rental car every few days. Small Cuban cafes, unadvertised cash prices, seafood shacks, same deal. Local restaurants, you guessed it. Here's the catch though. ATM fees at tourist spots run $4 to $8 per transaction. So withdraw cash before you hit the beach areas. And honestly, credit card fraud runs rampant in Florida. Skimmers love tourist zones. Cash actually keeps you safer for small purchases. Just ask, is there a cash price? Those 5 words have saved me hundreds. But speaking of saving money, there's one Florida gamble most tourists are too scared to take. Hurricane season runs June through November. And here's what nobody tells you. That's also when hotel prices drop by 40 to 60%. Most tourists avoid those months like the plague. But here's the thing. Hurricanes give you 5 to 7 days warning. That's plenty of time to adjust plans. Florida law actually requires hotels to refund your money if a storm makes travel impossible. So you're protected either way. Now for the math that'll make your wallet smile. The odds of a hurricane directly hitting your specific beach? Under 3% per week during season. You've got better odds of getting food poisoning at a buffet. $50 for travel insurance covers thousands in potential losses. Book flexible dates, keep an eye on weather apps, and you're golden. Savvy tourists have figured this out years ago. They're enjoying the same beaches, same attractions, same everything, just paying half price while everyone else waits for safe season. Florida's weird, but now you know how to beat it at its own game.